Hi guys, Amanda here. Welcome back to my channel. I am so grateful that you are joining me here today for another process video. Today I'm going to be using some paints. You can see the colors on the screen. Those are from Target in the Handmade Modern collection, and I am using the book, the Fighting the Battle of Worry, and it's a study on the book of Joshua. I'm going to link the book down below. It's an Amazon affiliate link where you can click down there below and it will take you right to this study, and I've done the first week completed and I absolutely love it. If you're anything like me, this time of quarantine has added a lot of uncertainty. Just a lot of things where you don't know what's going to happen, you feel fearful, or maybe you just have a little bit more worry than usual. Maybe you have some anxiety or even panic attacks. That is where I decided to pick up this study. It's one I'm working on with my mom and my grandma, and we just have a weekly Zoom where we're talking about what we're learning and what we're taking away, but it's going through the book of Joshua. And so that is where I am putting my paint today in my Bible. And I'm also going to use that pattern paper from the Illustrated Faith Print and Pray shop. And I'm going to use that as a tip-in where I'm going to be able to put a good amount of notes using my typewriter on the back, where it still has some decorative elements on the front. So even when the tip-in is closed, you're able to still see some really fun artwork. Now, as I'm putting this paint on the page, I want to keep in mind that I want to keep that visual triangle going, and also making sure that the colors, I wanted them to match the pattern paper as best as possible, so that's why I picked out the colors that I did. The pattern paper does not cover the page completely, so when the flap is closed, you can still see those colors of paint peeking out underneath. And that is why I decided to pick the colors that I did. And then to bring out a little bit more of the color, I'm just adding some white acrylic paint. Again, this is the Handmade Modern collection, but you could use any white acrylic paint that you have on hand. I'm filling in that circular area in the front, and then I'm going to add a little bit of art marks in the white just to kind of brighten it up and kind of break up the color a little bit. You'll see how I add a little second title in the white space after I let my paint dry. As a final touch to my paint, I'm using the Dina Wankely spray paints, and this is just in the color white, and they are permanent. So once you spray it, it is definitely permanent. So keep that in mind when you're using it. I used my typewriter just to get some takeaway notes on the book of Joshua in the chapters that we were working on. For this one, I was working on chapters 3 and chapter 4, where it's talking about the Ark of the Covenant, talking about letting God lead and not to overstep God, and to keep our distance so that He can pave a way and we can know exactly what He has planned for us. So those are going to be my big takeaways, but I first wanted to decorate the outside of my pattern paper. So it has these beautiful rainbows, so that's kind of one element. But I also wanted to bring in some type of big statement piece. I kind of fussed around with these florals, wasn't really sure about those. They kind of clashed with the rainbows. But then I reached for a journaling card that I had left over from the 2020 Vision kit from Illustrated Faith. I loved how this kind of brown color kind of complemented the oranges and the peaches from the pattern paper. So that's what I decided to go with there. And then I wanted to bring in a little bit more of that yellow that I used in my paint. I did that with my thread. This is definitely going to add some interest, bring out a little bit more of that yellow as opposed to the orange. And I felt like the floral was kind of competing. Instead of pairing that and having a heart, a rainbow, and a floral, I decided to reach for some more of my scraps from leftover kits. And I found a heart from the Wholehearted kit from Illustrated Faith. I decided to use that instead and just kind of layer that on top, so it kind of looked more 3D and like it was popping off of the journaling card with the thread underneath. You can see I'm using my Tim Holtz Tiny Attacher, one of my favorite tools. I love to use those little tiny staples and get some interest into especially into my journaling cards. You can see that I'm starting to work with my stamps, and these are from the Illustrated Faith shop. I don't believe either of these are available right now, but you can just keep checking back. They do restock things, especially their stamps when they get awfully popular. So I'm stamping the Ark. as far as on the front of my journaling card. And then on the back, I had some big titles that I wanted to get stamped down that were just kind of my takeaways from this section in the devotional that I was working on. So the first one was Let God Lead, and I'm using those with the typewriter alphas. It just seemed to work with my typewriter and then to use the typewriter alpha. So it says, let God lead. Underneath that, in the second one, I'm going to stamp out where it says, don't overtake. And that was just talking about don't overstep the Lord, but instead kind of let him lead, keep your distance, and let him pave a way for you because he knows what you are going to be overcoming. I wanted to make sure that I really had this 12 stones kind of as a staple piece in my journaling as well. The 12 stones that the men put down where they once stood, just as a reminder of all of the things that God has done and will do in our lives. So I have that now, and I'm going to create the little tip in. My paint should be dry at this point, and then I'm going to put the journaling card on top of the pattern paper, and then I'm going to attach the pattern paper to my Interleaved Bible by using some washi tape. Now I decided to just use the Lauren washi, the spotty dot one, just because it was very much a neutral, and I didn't want it to clash again with that rainbow or those hearts motifs. I wanted to keep it something simple. Make sure if you're creating a tip-in that you do not put tape on the top of the fold over. So see how I have some space between the top of the pattern paper and where I put the tape, and then same with the bottom. So the corners are not staple or not taped to the page, but that instead allows it to be more of a hinge. And then I just flipped it over and I allowed for a second piece of tape just to kind of make sure that it was really anchored in there and that it wasn't just hinging on one piece of washi tape, but then those washi tapes were both attached to the pattern paper. I'm gonna get my date down on my page. You guys know how I love to do that. So I got that stamped down. I used my mega date stamp. I'm just going to create a second title. So right now, it says the ark, and then when you flip it up, it has all of my journaling. I don't want to get too much into it because there is some private journaling on there, but I do encourage you, if you are struggling with worry or anxiety, even if you do outside of these times of quarantine, if that's something that you want to improve at, I definitely suggest this study. Even though I've only been doing it for just over a week, it has helped me tremendously. So I highly, highly recommend it. Inside of my little white space and kind of going outside of the white space even, I'm going to put the title, His Promise, and I just wanted that to just be a big reminder. So when it says the ark and then His Promise, so that is just a physical reminder that He is with us and that He's going to provide for us and He's going to be the ruler of all. And it was just a really, really fun process to kind of work through and to get all of my notes on one page and have it look still artistic in my Bible instead of just a bunch of my handwriting was really, really fun to do. And I've gone back to this page multiple times just flipping through my Bible, and it's definitely been one of my favorites so far. I am going to leave you guys with a couple of close-ups after I put the tab on the top here. If you guys have any questions about the study or about this process, please put them down in the comments below. I would love to be hearing for you. Also, let me know how I can be praying for you during this time. And I pray that everyone is staying safe, especially during this time. Thank you guys so much for the support. You guys know you can come and hang out with me on Instagram at Roe Writes, and I will be seeing you guys soon. Bye.